You're in the C Space Studio with me, James Kotecki. We're here at CES 2024, and we are not alone. We're joined by Andrew Poliak, CTO, Panasonic Automotive Systems of America. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Panasonic Automotive Systems, what does the brand mean here in 2024? Can you give us some context?
Well, we're over 50 years contiguous exhibitor here at CES, so it's a great place for us to be. We have a long storied history here, and it's exciting to be here.
Over 50 years?
Over 50
years.
So
I know that this is the 100th anniversary of what is now known as the Consumer Technology Association.
Correct.
But I think CES itself is probably about 50 years old.
You're
the OGs,
one
of the OGs for sure.
Yep.
So tell me about Panasonic's role in the automotive industry specifically, and kind of where you sit,
Sure.
the scope of where people might be experiencing things that you produce.
If you've looked at a screen, looked at a head-up display, listened to audio, looked at a camera, likely you've interacted with our technology.
Okay.
So we're in all the major OEMs globally, and we've been in everything from navigation, rear seat entertainment, augmented reality HUDs, all kinds of things.
And you're the CTO. What are the are there certain kind of major technical challenges with making things that go in cars that people might not think about?
Oh yeah.
That you have to think about every day?
Yeah, everyone wants that consumer experience in their car, but if you think about the challenge you have to deal with is chips that would be available in your latest smartphone today, they'll spin an automotive version of them, maybe at the same time as they deal with their newest electronics, but it takes years for that product to get into the field. They have to do special automotive quality for RAM and memory and everything. Those technologies take a long time, so you really have to still make something that performs for 3 years ahead or 5 years ahead or 11 years ahead. And that's a challenge.
That is a challenge. And are you dealing with things that people might perceive of as, just kind of entertainment, or are you also integrated into safety features that are essential to the operation of the automobile?
Absolutely. There's an up integration happening in vehicles that create a whole brain, and that brain encompasses safety critical components like autonomous drive or ADAS systems, as well as your entertainment experience. Yeah. And if you think about getting a little technical geeky for a second, if you think about the fact that when you have this like a camera system that's helping to drive or a sensor system, a lot of times they want to use those same cameras for maybe viewing around the car remotely from your phone. And that usually passes through that entertainment system. Yeah. So there's such latency. If you have them in different boxes, it's very difficult to reuse some of those cameras and sensors for other experiences like augmented reality HUD. Yeah. So by up integrating them into one box, you can really create that low latency experience.
And it's such a challenge because it all has to work perfectly. If I notice it's working, there's something wrong, right? If I just get in my car and I don't think about it, that's a good day for you. At the same time, it has to work in terms of safety as well, because it's not like it's a speaker in my house where if it doesn't work one day, I'm just annoyed. If it doesn't work, something worse could happen. So you have to be on all that. So if you're thinking about all these issues, and you're also having to think because of the chip issue that you mentioned, 5, 8, 11 years out, this is the place to prognosticate about the future. So tell us a little bit about the vision for, and maybe you can contextualize this with kind of the best that we can do today, but what is generally some components of the vision for how we will be moving around in vehicles in the future?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is to shift left that development cycle so you'll have the same experience in 11 years that you'd be having on your consumer device in your car.
Yeah.
So doing things that we can do to decouple the hardware from the software, bring the development earlier, means that you'll make upgradability, not just software updates, but hardware upgrades that will be possible over the life of your vehicle. So in that way, whether you're being driven around and entertained in your second space, realistically from your home, your car becomes that second space, right?
And I'm sorry to interrupt that. Is there a bring your own device capacity to this, where if I go on a plane, sometimes it seems like planes they just forgot about updating the screens. They said everybody's carrying something in their pocket that's probably better, so we'll just integrate and make Wi-Fi really good so you can use your own iPad or smartphone in the plane. Are there thoughts about things like that?
Absolutely. Apple just announced the ability to stream Dolby Atmos over CarPlay, and we're a premium audio supplier. We had a lot of announcements with Klipsch and Infinity and ELS and the Fisker Ocean. So those premium audio systems, you'll be able to make a car environment sound better than any home theater you can, and that will be with that brought-in device that will bring the content in your connectivity. But realistically, an OEM doesn't need to bring your own device if you have three things. You need to have upgradability in software and hardware. You need a dedicated connectivity module, and you need an app platform that can bring your latest apps. If you have those, you really don't need a device. It's just having those things, even in a plane, become sometimes difficult, right?
Let's talk about autonomous vehicles, self-driving cars. It's a topic that's been at CES for years.
Sure.
How does that play into your vision? Are you preparing for a future where most people get in the car and don't have to drive it because it drives themselves? Because obviously, again, you have to set this vision a few years out from where you want to go. So where do you see it going?
Yeah, absolutely. We're prepared for that. I would say this window we're in, I call comfort ADAS. So as cars get more control, doing things that will let people feel confident that their car is piloting them the right way.
The first time that happens, they're a little freaked out, and then they get used to it.
Exactly. So things like our augmented reality head-up display. You think in an autonomous vehicle, you wouldn't need a head-up display because you're, except for maybe entertainment purposes. But showing and highlighting that stop sign or that car in front of you or that pedestrian going across, so you can feel confident that your car sees what you see and it will behave the way you expect it to, will build that confidence to let go of the steering wheel and allow the car to pilot. So we're preparing for it. I don't think it will mature as fast as people thought 5 years ago. But there'll be this in-between stage that we focus on some of the comfort ADAS and then go from there on.
And do you see a vision that some people have portrayed, I think at places like CES, of, it's two sets of seats that face each other, and it's almost like my own little mini entertainment pod, and I don't even really think of it as a car anymore, and who cares where the seats are facing or if the windows are even real or what? Do you see all that coming down the road?
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Metaphorical road?
Absolutely.
Or the literal road?
Yeah.
And how does that look then for the future of cities? Asking you again, just to kind of prognosticate a bit further out here, if you're building technology that is assisting folks and making the transition to a driverless future, are you excited about what that could mean for kind of urban planning and urban situations?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even again, going to that in-between stage, I'm a cabinet member with something called the RAY, which is the Ray C. Anderson Foundation that builds smart roadways. It's a 501(c)(3).
Interesting.
And they're doing things like signal phase and timing, where you can just set lights to green as you approach them, like Kia in Georgia, where I'm located. They actually have made all their trucks where when you get off the freeway, it turns light green when it goes in to deliver the deliveries to the factory there. And that whole roadway becomes smart, and you start planning for more optimal drives.
So this is, I've not heard about this. So this is a situation where I'm driving toward a stop light, it's maybe red, but theoretically there's no one else coming, right? So it knows it's totally safe for this light to be green, so it's not just on a dumb timer. You can just say, just keep going, there's no one else coming. You're
well,
fine.
it'll actually turn the other side red, turn it green, and you just keep going,
How do you think about sustainability and environmental impact? And I'm asking that in the context of a theme which has been the case at CES for a couple of years now, which is human security, which is writ large kind of how technology helps people people on this planet do better, and I know that's something that you care about at Panasonic.
Yep. So if you think about, one way I'll kind of tie back into my technical kind of pontificating earlier, shifting software left often means decoupling it from hardware. And that means by making it that developers can develop prior to having their first sample of some hardware device, means you're not building more samples, you're not shipping them around the planet, you're not wasting precious resources in silicon and boards and everything. You're really unlocking people to be able to develop without hardware. And then know that software will then drop right onto the hardware and run. So we've been showing at Amazon's booth, we have something that we call our virtual skip gen. That's allowing you to develop automotive applications and even safety applications that you could run multiple instances in the cloud on AWS, and you can have testing, millions of miles of road, millions of use cases tested, all without having a single piece of hardware. So it's really helping from that green impact and yet still tying it back on the technology side.
Has the company Panasonic had to go through, or is still going through, a mentality shift around some of these things? If we're talking about decoupling software from hardware, I mean, I think of Panasonic as a hardware company, at least historically. Obviously, it's doing all of these things. Have you had to kind of lead some mindset shifts inside the organization?
Absolutely. So prior to Panasonic, I've been here 8 years. Prior to that, I spent 20 years in operating systems, hard real-time operating systems and software. Never touched hardware except for how it interacted with the software. So, but I love the hardware side, and yes, we're a huge manufacturer, so that's one of our global manufacturing footprint is what makes us so strong, but absolutely getting into the software is key.
Andrew Poliak,
Yes.
CTO, Panasonic Automotive. Thank you so much for joining us today in
Thank
C
you.
Space Studio. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your time, attention, and viewership. Keep it right here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X/Twitter, all those CES channels for more great conversations from here in the C Space Studio, sponsored by Integral Ad Science. I'm James Kotecki. Don't go anywhere.